Well, good morning and welcome to the Garden Show. I'm Peggy Ballister Howells. Oh, I did it again. It's not the Garden Show anymore. It was a Garden Show for like 35 years, but now it is Garden with Peggy. And that is for consistency purposes. So the YouTube is Garden with Peggy and the website is Garden with Peggy. And you can also see us on Instagram and TikTok on Garden with Peggy. So here we are, Garden with Peggy and Garden with this little monster who's Alfie. Yeah, well, he's very sweet, but let me tell you, he's a little bit of a terror sometimes. Um, so we've been busy here at Tiny Farm, a lot going on, and the days are getting longer. Did you notice? I mean, it's not like super noticeable, but it's, if you pay attention, the days are definitely getting longer. When we wake up in the morning, there's a little glimmer of light in the sky, which is a big improvement from trying to wake up in pitch blackness. So that's all good. I'm going to give the phone number. All right, I'm going to put him down because he's being a little less than cooperative today. He's been running around crazy, battling with Juniper, who's like literally 10 times his size, just about. So the phone number here is 888-399-7344. And that's Peggy, P-E-G-I. So 7344. If you can't remember that, remember my name, which is Peggy, P-E-G-I. So you can give us a call. And I'd like to welcome, all my listeners that are listening live, which is always fun. Hi, guys. Good morning. And, you can comment. There's a place to comment so that if you don't want to call in, you can ask a question or make a comment by typing in comments. And then also to want to remind everybody that the people that are listening on the archives, that you can always send me a question via an email or you can, some people do have my direct line. You can send me questions and pictures like that, but there's always a way to reach me. So, all right. So I gave the phone number. We don't have any callers as of yet, but I do want to put out a request. I have three groups of pictures that were sent to me by viewers. One is Bob from Monroe. So if he could give us a call. Mary sent me some more pictures of her carnivorous plants, and there's one picture I'm just not sure. It's gorgeous, but I'm not sure what I'm looking at. So I'd really like to talk to her about that. And my good buddy Jordan, she had a different Nepenthes, which is a pitcher plant, a hanging type pitcher plant. And so I asked her to send me some pics, and so asked her to call in. So any of those folks, when they call in, we will get them on the air. But let's start off. Let's see. Let's start off the show with Poor Bird, only because I did Poor Bird a couple of weeks ago, and I want to get to Poor Bird. This wooden bird was hand carved, and he's missing his legs. He doesn't have legs. I think at one point he was supposed to stand up, but he was given to me by a longtime listener, and I thought he was really kind of beautiful, but he was in the basement for a while, and I was cleaning up one of the shelves in the basement, and I came across him, and I thought, poor bird, he really needs to be someplace other than in a pile in the basement. So that's the spot I came up with for installing him, but it was really a bit of a challenge to how to get him up there. See, those two large holes look like that's where he used to have legs, but I didn't really want to stand him anyplace, and I don't want to put him outside with legs outside. He'd be ruined, and I didn't have a place for him inside, and I didn't have any appropriate legs. So that's what I did. I got the kinds of screws that are screws on both sides, and I drilled them into the beam over the door. I thought over the door was a good place because I really can't hang anything over the door. You'd bump your head. So I put the screws in over the door, and then I pressed him up against where the two pointy screws were sticking out. And that left two distinct marks, and that's where I drilled. So what you're seeing in this picture is me drilling into one of those places. And I had to make sure that I drilled the holes big enough that they would fit over the screws, but tightly. And you can see that's me installing the two in the wood itself, which was not easy. There's no head on them, so I had to use a pair of pliers to screw them in. And then you can see the two screws that I put in on the left, and then I drilled the second hole in Poor Bird. And I didn't want to drill all the way through his body because I didn't want to see a big giant screw on his back. I thought that would be really ugly. So, so I was crossing my fingers and getting creative. And then I held him up there, and I got them aligned perfectly because of being able to mark where the pointy screws were. And at first I was just whacking at him with a rubber mallet, but I was afraid I was going to dent him. So then I used a big, heavy dish towel to give me a little cushion so I wouldn't actually mark the wood. And there he is installed over my door, the door into the greenhouse. And there he is, Poor Bird, installed in the greenhouse. I think he's adorable. And there really wasn't anything else I could have put up there. So we now have these are the kinds of things I can do in the winter when I'm not completely overwhelmed with gardening. But so Poor Bird is now properly installed and guarding the entrance into the greenhouse. And I think he looks pretty cool. So, all right. So that was a fun, small project. All right. Who do we have calling?
Mary, Bob.
Oh, wait, who's first? Mary's first. Okay. So let's go to Mary's slides. Mary's carnivorous plants. Hey, Mary, how you doing? Mary?
I think this is Jordan.
Oh, Jordan. Oh, okay. Let's switch.
Hi.
All right. I'm not sure what happened. Hey, Jordan.
Your hair
All right. Let's
purple.
switch.
It's beautiful.
Let's switch to Jordan's plants.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. Okay. We'll go to your plants. There you are.
Wait, hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I never left.
Okay, good. So you sent me these pictures. These plants look incredibly healthy.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, got it at Mike's. It's been chugging along and just enjoying life. I wouldn't say it's exactly thriving, but it's not, that's my fault. It's also winter, but I'm excited to put it outside next summer and see what happens. And you can see that a couple baby pitchers are starting to form, which is exciting. It just knows the days are getting longer.
See, there we go. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know your definition of thriving, but those plants look pretty good, especially in the middle of winter.
I mean, they're not like pitchering like crazy.
No, but it's winter and things are just getting started.
Yeah.
And what is this one called? I know this is also a Nepenthes, but you gave this one another name as well. What was that?
Yeah. I've heard a couple different names for this one. It's either Nepenthes Saint Gaia or Nepenthes Gaia.
Okay.
Either way.
But those are two little pictures, right? I zeroed in on them. Yes, that's them forming, right?
Oh, well, one of them on the right, the one up top is dry. That was a picture, I think, from last year, but the one on the bottom looks viable. And then there's one kind of catty corner to it on top. If you look at the big picture, that's green. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So hopefully it'll open up soon and I can, drop a few things in there.
So what is your fascination with these Nepenthes? You seem to really like them. What draws you to them?
I just think they're funky and weird, and I like that.
Well, I'm right there with you. I definitely like funky and weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, they're really enjoyable, and they're so fun to watch.
Of these that exist? I mean, we've looked at two different kinds. Oh, let's look at the next picture, please. All right, so this is the picture you sent me. This is what they will look like. This was a picture that Jordan found, but this looks very different than the pictures of the ones that we had last week. They're shorter and fatter and more striated, but this is what you can expect to find when it does go into making its little pictures, right? Is this correct?
Yeah. Yeah. When I bought the plant, it did have a couple mature pictures, so I knew that it would look like that.
I think it's it's pretty cool that Mike carries all this weird stuff. But we're talking about
I do too. You can.
Mike's Country Market, which is over on Riva Avenue on the edge of
Mhm.
Millstone and East Brunswick. And we've been there many times together and grabbed the sandwich, but I don't think we've ever gone there where we haven't gone, oh, wow, look at that plant, because there's always something fun and cool. And I can't wait to see what he brings in for the spring. So,
I know.
so thank you for sharing this. And
You're welcome.
how's the bread making going?
It's good. It's good. I sent you a picture last night. I made the world's teeniest, tiniest little baby baguette yesterday. It turned out so cute.
Well, I miss having you around all the time, but I'm glad that you are doing something that you love. And of course, I'm sure we'll still find time to hang out together and go get more weird plants at Mike's, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thanks for calling. You have a wonderful afternoon, and we will chat again soon.
You too. Enjoy your new hair. It looks fabulous.
Can you see the sparkles in the they're hard to see on camera, but they're definitely in there. Can you see them?
Yeah, they're showing up.
They're showing up. Yeah, they're showing up. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, of course, Jordan was privy to all this. My Christmas present from my daughter Kira was to have tinsel hair put in, and we went yesterday, and she has magnificent long brown dark hair, and she had like bronze ones put in, sparkly bronze ones, and I had the purple ones put in, and we had so much fun. And then we went out to lunch. It was like a girl's day, but I now have fairy hair, which is kind of a treat. So thank you for noticing. I'd almost forgotten about it. All right, you have a great day. Sending a hug. I will talk. We will talk soon.
All right. See ya.
Okay. Bye. All right. Do we have another caller? Oh, good. It's Bob from Monroe. Hey, Bob. How you doing?
Hi, Peggy. How are you?
I'm good. You sent me some pretty cool pictures.
Oh, glad you like them.
So tell me, this is a Coosa dogwood that we're looking at right now, right? And
Right.
tell me, what do you want to accomplish with this? Because it looks beautiful.
Well,
It has a really nice shape, and it looks pretty healthy from, I mean, I'm not looking at it up close, but it has really nice shape. It doesn't look like it has a lot of dead branches on it. So what is the goal?
No, it's really a nice tree, and I like the trunk is an interesting shape, and it's I guess it was planted maybe 20 years ago, and everything in this particular area has just gotten way too big. So what I'd like to do with the tree is to kind of shrink it back a little bit, but I'm afraid if I prune it that I may ruin it.
I don't think so.
In the springtime is full of flowers and whatever, and I'm just afraid that if I prune it back, I'm going to lose the leaves and they're not going to grow back.
Not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen, Bob. Okay. So are you looking at this picture simultaneously with me? Are you able to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm looking at the tree straight on, right? Okay.
Yep.
And see the branch that's at 12 o'clock? One that goes up pretty much at 12 o'clock, maybe? Okay. So maybe it's 12:30, right? Okay. That one. You can take that back to above. You go down, and it's like a triple branch, and then you can go down a little bit further, and then you can see that there's a double branch there. You can take it back to that.
Right. Okay.
And then looking at the branch that's at 2 o'clock, you can take that one that's at 2 o'clock, and you can take that back to where it branches off. This is called selective pruning. You can take that back, and you can, we're going to try to not prune every branch. That way you'll still get flowers in the spring. The other option, of course, is to wait until it finishes blooming, and then you can prune it at that point, but it's going to be harder to see the branch structure. So I would say in this case, plus It has while it's still dormant, it's going to bleed less, and dogwoods have a tendency to bleed a lot. So I think even though you're going to be sacrificing some of the flowers, I think there's some advantages to getting out there and doing it while it's still dormant on a day when the temperature is above freezing. So you want to take that 2 o'clock branch off, and then you want to go over and there's a 10 o'clock branch, and you want to take that one down. Again, there's a couple different options depending on how far back you want to take it. But you can take it, I think, back to, you can see there's a major V about 3 branch nodes down. You can take it to there. And that's pretty much what you want to do. You want to go around and you want to find the longest branches that are sticking out, not all the branches, but the longest ones, and take them back to a significant joint. And if you leave the tips of the shorter branches, then they will still bloom for you. So that's what I'm trying to get you to do, is to take the longest ones back to the inside, the center of the plant, not all the way back, but somewhere in the center where you won't leave a giant hole, but you want to take them pretty far back. And then go around gradually, one branch at a time. And every time you do that, I want you to take a step back and look at the tree so that you get an overall view. But that's the trick, is to take the longest branches back to an important joint, and then leave some of the branches so that they will continue to bloom. And if you find that you've taken it back significantly, but maybe not as much as you like, then you do the same thing next year, but leave this year's new growth. You can do the same thing a couple of years in a row to bring it down gradually. Can we look at the next slide? You can see here, I did a couple of, more close-ups that you can see what I'm talking about. Like in the picture on the right, you could take those 2 branches all the way back, those 2 branches that go almost straight up. One goes 12 o'clock, one goes 11 o'clock. You can take those 2 back to that joint in the middle, and you leave the other branches, which are smaller. That's what you want to do. And you want to do that all the way around. Again, on the picture on the left, the tallest branch, you can take that all the way back to that major V where there's 3 branches coming out, and you can take out the one in the middle. That's the tallest one. And you do that all the way around, and you preserve the overall shape, but you just bring it down. And the key thing is that you leave a lot of the growth that was last year's growth, that is what's going to produce your flowers, and then you can bring it down. So do you think, did I explain that clearly enough to you, Bob?
Yes, because I think it's going to be a multi-year activity, because we did the same thing. We had some azaleas that were way out of control, and it probably took us 2 or 3 years to get that bush looking the way we wanted it.
Well, this is definitely, you can make a significant difference in this year. Maybe not as much as you want, but it'll be significant. But you were concerned about not having leaves come out, and this method will definitely protect it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Good. But we want to take a look at that other thing, which is a little scarier to me.
All right.
That is something else, Bob. What? That
You like that?
That looks like, a spaceship that landed from, another planet. What do you want to do with that one? What is the goal? I mean, it's so, you have it so round. Getting it that round would be really quite the challenge. So, so what are you trying? You said in your note that it was crowding something. What's it crowding?
Right. So you can see just to the right of it. I don't know if you can make out. There's some evergreen just to the right, and just behind the evergreen, you can see the branches. That's a crepe myrtle.
The big one that's sticking out like over 2 o'clock, like that's a crepe myrtle, or is there a smaller one in there?
No, no, just to the right of the laurel. You can see there's some thin branches.
Okay,
going
that's so
straight
you
up.
want to protect that. Okay. All right. Well,
Right. So the goal here is to take this and basically shrink it, make it thinner,
you want to make
thinning
it
it up.
thinner.
And even bring it down. Several years ago I gave it a haircut. It wasn't quite this high, but I cut it way down, and it all grew back again. So I'd like to. Right now it's about 20 feet high.
Wow.
So I'd like to bring it down. A little bit, and also to make it lose a few pounds.
Yeah, you and me both. I'd like to lose a few pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very hard for me to tell you exactly what you can do with this because I can't really see the branch structure. It looks like a giant poof ball.
Yeah, there's maybe it's actually 3 plants. When it was originally planted, it was three plants. So there's maybe 9 main trunks inside. And then from that, there's all the side branches that come out that are anywhere, that are fairly thin to maybe a ½ inch in diameter. But the vertical structure is primarily these 6 or 8 main trunks that go up.
Okay, well, first thing I'm going to do is suggest that you get some very long gloves and a pair of long handled loppers, preferably ratchet ones.
Mhm.
And and you're going to stick your head in there and you're going to see if there's all these trunks that are growing up, you may be able to take all the way down to the bottom, the ones that are on the outside. I don't think that there's going to be any way you can tackle this without disrupting its appearance significantly, but it should fill in. I don't think we're going to be able to be quite as graceful with this one as we are going to try to do with the Coosa dogwood. So you want this skinnier, I think, seems to be important. So you want to take a look and see, is the outermost primary branch something that you can take all the way out at the bottom? Or is it something that you can't do that with and you just want to remove all the lateral branches? You're only going to be able to make that decision when you're in there and looking. So there may be 1, 2, 3 primary trunks along the perimeter that you can remove that will go a long way in making it more narrow. So see if you can do that, and then see what lateral branches you can remove after that. It's going to be a step-by-step process, but that's what you need to do. You need to get in there and really examine the branch structure. And I'm going to bet that there's at least a couple of major trunks that can come off on the outside, and then that'll make it a lot more narrow. After you remove them, you're going to have to do some shaping. But I think you can do it. I think you've got enough foliage there to play with that, even after you do all this, it's not going to be completely naked, and it should fill in relatively quickly. But you want to take off those major outside branches so that it doesn't do this again. I'm guessing, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, that last time you just sheared it all the way around. Is that correct?
Pretty much. Well, pretty much. As far as the haircut, I just lopped it off at the top, and then started chopping away on branches. And it was pretty bare when I was done.
But you didn't do any major limb removal.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's what you need to do. So if you want it to be narrower, more compact looking, yeah, you definitely need to do that. And there's no way that it got that round on its own. So whatever you did encouraged it to do this. And cutting off the top the way you did definitely encouraged all the side branches to grow, because that's just the nature of how things grow. There are chemicals on the growing tips of branches that inhibit the buds from from bursting out further back. So when you top it, that's what happens is that you remove the growth inhibitor that prevents the buds from growing. So you topped it and all the side buds went berserk, and that's how you ended up with this. So you need to do both. You need to do both if you want to keep it narrow. I actually think it's really cool looking, and if it wasn't in the way of something else, I would celebrate it, because I think it's pretty outrageous just the way it is. But if it's not meeting your needs, then you got to do something.
Yeah, it's certainly healthy.
Yes. So that's in your favor. So, take off a couple of the outermost primary branches, since you've got so many of them, and, you can cut it back at the top, but then you also need to remove a lot of the side branches, and you should be okay.
Right.
It's going to be a little bit time consuming, but that's what you need to do. And once you take off the primary branches, it's going to look so different that you're going to be able to better imagine your final product, because right now it's really hard to imagine how are you going to get to the point that you want to get to. But when you remove some of those big, I would say possibly as many as 3, the furthest ones out. Once you remove them, I think you're going to have a much clearer idea of what you need to do to get it to be the shape that you want.
Yep. Okay. All right. That sounds good. And it's not too early to start?
You can do this kind of pruning on a day when the temperature's above freezing. That's when you want to do it. It's a little, February, March, maybe it's a little early, but the weather's been so mild. I think you'd be okay. You want to do it while it's dormant. You get the less bleeding, especially on the Kusa dogwood. It's very important to do it while it's dormant. So I don't think it's as.
So they're forecasting 50 degrees towards the end of the week. So that's probably a good time.
Sounds like a great day to do it to me. But you got to promise me one thing, Bob. I want you to take pictures along the way and send them to me, because this was great fun to be able to talk to you and show this. So we want to see pictures of how you're doing on both trees, if you can. Could you do that for me?
Yep.
Sure. All right. Well, that'll be fun. I'm excited. And I'm really interested in seeing how it all comes out. And then I want a better picture of that crepe myrtle, because he's really hidden there in the background.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thanks a lot, Peggy.
All right. Thanks for calling in, and thanks for sending the pictures. Good luck. This is going to be, I know it's going to be work, but I think it's going to be fun. I think you're going to have a good time doing this.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Take care.
All right. We have another caller. Oh my goodness. Anne Marie and Uncle Art are calling. Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good morning, Peggy. How are you?
I'm good. I have in the slideshow this week at Tiny Farm, which I haven't done yet. I have that very cool picture that you sent me. So you'll have to stay tuned so that you can see it, but I didn't get to it yet. So what's happening down your way?
I will be here till 11, so I will be here to see. First off, we live in Milltown, not Millstone. And
I said Millstone. Oh, I apologize from the bottom of my heart. I'm so sorry.
Oh, poor Mike is going to be the one that's so upset. He won't have any new customers if they go to Millstone.
It's true. And there's actually 2 Millstones too, which makes it even more confusing. But Milltown, I'm sorry. I used to live next door to Millstone, so that's what comes into my head. But Milltown. Okay. So Mike's Country Market is in Milltown on the edge of East Brunswick on Riva Avenue. Did I get it right that time?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Very good.
Okay, good.
And I love your tinsel.
Oh, thank you. It is kind of fun. It's just subtle, but a little sparkly.
Yeah, I expected it to be a lot more prevalent, but it's very subtle, and that's nice.
Yeah, I didn't want to be too much. Just a little hint of frivolity.
Good. Okay. Well, we're anxious to see the rest of the show. It was good to hear familiar voices call in, so that was good.
I think it's really working out well that people are sending me slides in advance. I think that's really fun and is really helpful for me to put the show together, but also really helpful for the people who have the questions. So the more people that can do that And we're trying to each week we improve. I don't know if you noticed the intro is a little bit better, more exciting. We keep trying to improve, but we're hoping to be able to conquer people sending me pictures live that I can show, but we haven't quite gotten to that. But each week is a little better.
Good.
Oh,
Okay.
and did you see Poor Bird? You saw?
We did see Poor Bird.
Well, Poor Bird was a gift from our friend that has all that stuff that she's giving away. The older woman over on Riva. I think it's on Riva Avenue.
No, Helga.
Yes.
No.
She gave me that bird.
That's Tulsa. Yeah, that's Tulsa Avenue.
And
oh, good.
Yes, and I'm hoping that she knows that Poor Bird now has a really good home, because I love it. I think it's a beautiful thing, and now it has a good spot. So.
It is. Well, her son is his whole business is wood.
Is that where that came from? Her son?
Well, I would guess. I don't know, but I haven't talked to her in a while, so I don't know. But I do know that he has something to do with lumber, trees. He lives maybe an hour from us in Milltown, I think. When I first met her, when you had hooked me up to grab her plants that one year.
Well, I think that is the perfect spot for Poor Bird. He looks really good there.
Yeah,
so,
he's perfect.
So if you
now he's been enriched.
If you come across her, please tell her that Poor Bird is very happy nesting over the door.
Is that what she called it also?
Yes. Well, we were looking at it and we found it buried in one of her sheds because she had so much gardening stuff in the back. And
sure.
And we said, I said, oh, look at this bird. He's beautiful. Poor bird. He doesn't have any legs. And so we kept calling him Poor Bird after that. And so Poor Bird came home with me, and he's been Poor Bird ever since. And I'm going to tell you a cute, ridiculous story that makes it stick in my head as Poor Bird. As a almost infant, my many siblings put on a Thanksgiving pageant. Multiple families together. My cousins on my mother's side of the family, two sets of cousins, and all my 7 siblings put together a Thanksgiving pageant. And me being all of 2 at the time, my one line was Poor Bird about the turkey. So Poor Bird is an expression that has stuck with my family. And I don't think I ever see one of my cousins where they don't come up to me and say, Poor Bird. It's just, it was on tape. It was played for years. Somewhere the tape still exists where I'm saying Poor Bird. So once I christened it Poor Bird, it wasn't going out of my head. It was Poor Bird. So.
There you go. Well, that's cute. Very cute.
All right,
okay,
my dear.
Well, have a good week.
Wait, keep watching so you can see your lettuce thing. It's coming up soon.
Okay, good.
All right. Thanks for calling, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So who do we have next? Mary. Oh, okay. We have Mary from Warren. Yay, Mary. Mary, how you doing
Hi.
today? How are you?
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Mary, what is this thing that we're looking at? This pink thing?
That is the flower from a pitcher plant.
That's the flower
It's
from a pitcher plant? I've never seen one bloom.
There's tons of pitcher plants. So this isn't an Nepenthes. I think it's a Sarracenia, something like that. The other picture there, I did send you a picture that's just but if you look in this picture down in the right corner, bottom corner, that's the actual plant.
Oh, okay. I can see it. And you sent me pictures of that. So and I actually can see that there's a stem, but I didn't put the 2 together. That flower is pretty outrageous. And we had been talking last week that we wondered, do they flower? They must flower somehow at some point, but that's not what they're not sold for their blooms. They're sold for their carnivorous appetites. So that's outrageous. I'm so glad you sent me that picture. I've never seen that. That's really, and how many times have you seen it do that?
Only twice.
Oh, but twice. Okay. So there's hope. That means if it's been twice, if it happens once, you might actually see it again. So that's great. Okay. Well, now we know. That's pretty outrageous. And
Yeah,
that's the
it
plant, right?
was,
And that's the flower stalk coming out of the middle. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm still seeing the flower.
She's on delay.
Oh, you're
Oh,
on,
yes,
you're probably on
yeah.
a little bit of a
Yeah.
time delay. So, okay. So that
Yeah,
thing that's
that-
sticking out of the center is the flower stalk that turns into that magnificent pink, rosy, really weird looking flower. That's it. So this is the pitcher plant I was always familiar with before I was introduced to the Nepenthes, which was relatively new on my scene. But these are, I would say these are a little more common, don't you think, Mary?
Definitely. And these are more hardy than the Nepenthes, because the Nepenthes I think are really tropical.
Are these hardy around here?
Occasionally to winter them over, but it's not. It's too cold here. Like when I've wintered them over outside, I've had to put a lot of mulch and stuff on top of them, and then you have to make sure that they stay wet, and it's too iffy. And I got some new little ones last summer that I was going to keep outside, and then it got so cold and I really worried I was going to lose them. So I put them in a north window in the basement so that they get cold, because some of these have to go through a dormancy. Otherwise they don't live that long.
Okay.
So
All right. So tell me
I'm
about
keeping
this
my
one.
fingers crossed.
This other one in the pretty blue stones. I like the blue stones. Notice I coordinated the blue background with the blue stones just to be a little artsy here.
That is a Nepenthes. It's a baby Nepenthes that, believe it or not, at the orchid show.
But not this year.
Remember what the name of the place is. I can't remember it. They did have some orchids. When you walked in the show, if you went straight ahead into the far left corner.
Oh, right. Yeah, they had some other things too. They had a curly lipstick plant that was really tickling me.
Yes, yeah. And their gardens, is that it maybe?
So this is one you bought this year?
That thing that those blue stones are in.
Yep.
That's actually from bird suet, which is probably about 4 by 4.
But how
maybe
long have you
5 by
had
5.
this?
Just since the orchid show.
Oh,
year.
so it
Since
is a new
January.
one. Okay. All right. And
Yeah.
and that's the little the little cup over there, or what do we call them? What do we call the pockets that
You call them they're pitchers.
we
They
call them pitchers? Okay. So
like
that is a pitcher. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yep.
it seems like it's doing okay.
Yeah, I had a much larger Nepenthes that my brother and sister-in-law had brought back as a gift. And I couldn't keep it moist enough. And so that's why there's water in those blue stones there to try to keep extra moisture there so that it will live.
Well, wait till you see. I have more stuff on bell jars. Wait till you see what I'm going to show you. It's very, very cool. So stay tuned in, because you might find some of the things I'm about to show you useful. So I'm excited about that. So, and this one, of course, this is a Venus flytrap, right?
Yes. Yes. That's a new flytrap for me. I actually got that. They had those for the first time at Rutgers Greenhouse this year.
That is a very healthy looking one.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Now, I cut off those, since I took the picture, I cut off those black traps. The traps only open and close like about 3 or 4 times, and then they die.
So are you feeding
So I
it?
try to,
Are you feeding it chopped meat?
I have not fed it. I don't typically feed it chopped meat. In the winter, in my experience in the winter, they're really supposed to be more dormant.
Okay.
And then when I put them outside in the spring, then they get all the insects and, spiders. I've seen spiders caught in there and stuff. But I have not fed this. Somebody did tell me you could actually feed them flakes of fish food.
Oh, that's
But
interesting.
Yeah. And then when I asked, well, what kind of fish food, the person was kind of wishy-washy about. He didn't really know. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, keep me posted on how this does, because once you removed all the deceased ones, and now that the days are getting longer, it's probably going to start to wake up and do cool things. So we want to see cool things.
Sounds good.
Okay. I think that was the last slide. Wasn't
Okay.
it? All right. Is there anything else I can do for you today, Mary?
Not today. I'm good. I'm enjoying all of this, listening to everybody. So.
All right. Well, we're having fun. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do This Week at Tiny Farm, so you can see the bell jar thing that I want to talk about. All right. So we'll talk again soon. Thanks for sharing. All right. Let's go to This Week at Tiny Farm. All right. There are things that are blooming. That beautiful angel wing begonia. I've had that probably 20 years, and it almost died many times. And it's thrives in the greenhouse and has graced us with some beautiful, cheerful blossoms. Thank goodness. If you remember, was it last week we showed you the video on how I did some cutting back and some inserting on that little dish garden, which I had actually done a couple of weeks prior to when we aired it. And I'm happy to report everything is taken. You can see the little floret type succulents that I cut back and stuck in the ground are doing fine. And the jelly bean one that I cut off from another succulent that was very top heavy has not lost a single leaf. So that's doing great. The one that I cut back that I'm hoping will resprout hasn't done much of anything, but give it time. It still may. But in the picture on the right, the close-up, that Haworthia is blooming. You can see it's sending up a shoot. So it's about to make some little flowers out of the center of that one. So I'm very pleased with how everything is going according to plan. I think it's a really nice succulent garden, and it's full enough that if that one doesn't resprout and I just cut it out at the base, there's enough going on there that it won't be missed. But I'm still optimistic that it's going to do something. And this one is the hedgehog aloe. And I've showed you this picture before where, it's been sitting there like that with that flower bud for like a month. Then it didn't do anything. And then if you look at the picture on the right, suddenly in the last week, it shot up, which is starting to be very exciting. Next. But yesterday, it's starting to open. So I've never seen this bloom. The aloes all have similar kind of orangey tubular flowers, but the plant is so weird. This hedgehog aloe is just so weird. And the flower bud is so much bigger than a lot of other flower stalks that I'm kind of excited. And so we'll see. I mean, it's at this point, it's going to change every day. So perhaps by next week, I'll be able to show you a picture of it in full bloom. But it certainly took its time to go from showing a little bit of a bud to this. So by next week, it should do something pretty dramatic. And you may also remember that I showed you a little video of me chopping away at the set creasa in a hanging basket. I took off probably more than half of the plant and just left the short, compact stuff growing in the center of the pot. And here it is, gracing us with numerous flowers in my favorite color. Oh, and while I was working in the greenhouse this week, I had company. That is Wolf Bane. He's almost looks like a grumpy cat. He's not really a grumpy cat, but the greenhouse is his domain. He has a room in the basement that's all for him, which he can come and go from. And when I leave the basement door open to access the greenhouse, he goes in there and lays on the chase lounge and hangs out in the plants, and that is definitely his domain. Orchids, we've talked a lot about orchids, and I want to show you the orchid. The picture on the left is an orchid that I bought at the Rutgers Orchid Show when we went last time, which was what, 2 or 3 years ago. And if you look at the right, on the picture on the right, it is sending out a flower stalk. There's actually 2 flower stalks coming out of it. This particular one has bloomed for me. It blooms like twice a year. It blooms very reliably. So I'm very excited about that one. And the one on the left is an orchid that was a gift. It looks like I might have to go after that with, looks like it might have a few mealybugs that need to be addressed, but it has several flower stalks that are coming out. And the one on the right here, you can see that it has flower buds. This was a poor, pathetic orchid that a very dear friend of mine was sad about. She was moving and she wasn't able to take good care of it. She asked me if I would take it. I've had it probably close to 2 years and it hasn't done anything until now. So it should be in the next couple of weeks. I should be able to show you lots of pictures of the orchids in my greenhouse blooming. Now, this is the picture that Anne-Marie and Uncle Art sent me from Florida. How cool is that? I mean, I've seen something similar to that at Epcot. This is not at Epcot. This was just in somebody's garden, but what a great way to use vertical space. Now, it looks like that's actually a device that you would purchase, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't get a really large PVC pipe and just drill holes in it and do something very similar. And why, you could do other things. It doesn't have to be lettuce, but what a nice, you could have different kinds of lettuce in different holes. I mean, it's just, and you could do that on a balcony. How cool would that be on a balcony if you live in an apartment and you could have this thing and you could grow all kinds of things in it? I think it's a really outrageous idea. And I certainly appreciate Anne-Marie and Uncle Art sending us the picture. This was something that somebody else gave me, and the shape of this is not dissimilar to the giant plastic thing we were looking at. It's a strawberry jar, and my friend Jean rescued this from a greenhouse that was being shut down, and the house was being sold, and she asked me if I wanted this. And the succulent on the top is pretty good, but the rest of the thing looks kind of dilapidated. So I cut off the biggest one, which if you're looking at the picture on the left is the far left, and I removed that and took off all the yucky yellowing leaves and took off the stem. And I potted it up in a pot by itself. I'm hoping it'll root because it's a beautiful cutting and not something that I need. I have others like this. But it would be great for the plant exchange or for me to use as a house gift, which I'm always giving plants away. So, to have nice ones to give away would be fun. But I want you to look at the picture on the right. You can see that it's sending up some additional shoots from the bottom. But once I removed the large branch that I took off, it exposed that other plant, that other succulent that was completely hidden from view. So I'm hoping maybe now that has some light, it'll grow towards the light. I cleaned out all the little pockets in the strawberry jar. I haven't filled them all yet, but I did gather some cuttings from other succulents. And I'm hoping, this is not something I need for myself, So again, if I can get this looking really good and fun, it would be a great prize at the plant exchange, or again, a gift when I visit somebody's home as oh, this is this is Dino. I'm not allowed to tell you the whole story about Dino, but most of the story is that Dino showed up in our backyard in the rain last week. It was pouring, and Juniper was in the backyard out there to do her business, and she was barking and going a little berserk. So Tommy went to check on why she was, being so vociferous, and went out there and trying to get into the backyard in the driveway back by the garage. Dino was there, and he had no leash on, and he was trying to get into the backyard. So we put a leash on him. We brought him in. We found his name. We called the phone number, which was in California, so that wasn't any help. He had a rabies tag that was from Orange County, Florida. We called the police, and they had no record of a dog being reported lost, but we were sure that he couldn't have traveled very far, that he couldn't have been lost for long. Look at how white he is on a rainy, muddy day. And he wasn't completely saturated. He was wet, but he wasn't soaked to the skin. So we were thinking he must have been, lost very recently and locally, and that he wasn't a stray or a neglected dog, because look how gorgeous he is. So what we were able to do was Tommy put him in the car. We put him in the truck and drove around to see if anybody was looking for him. And when we didn't find anybody, we took him to our vet, who happened to be open on a Sunday. I didn't even know they were open on Sundays. And they were able to read his microchip, and the owner went and got him. So we do not have a fourth dog, which is a relief. And as my husband said, his entire truck was covered in white fur. Apparently, Dino sheds a lot. I think he's mostly Samoyed. Maybe there's a little something else in him, but Dino is safe at home with his people. So that was a little excitement that day. And was that the end? I thought, is that the end of that? Okay. Do we have any more callers? Okay. So what else? Oh, well then I guess the next thing that we have to talk about is the cherry tree. So let's go to the cherry tree. Okay. This is my winter project, and while it's not gardening exactly, it is the last major indoor project that I want to do in the house. This stairwell is very tall, very narrow, and it was really very boring. And so we painted it with the very light yellow, and then I rolled the stripes, which was really a bit of a challenge, getting the stripes all the way up to the top, because you had to do cutting in at the top with a paintbrush on a stick. So that was a little challenging. I have extended this. I had to use a ladder. Tommy set me up with a ladder. I have extended the tree a little bit more from the ladder. I think everything that's left to do on the trunk itself, I'm going to be able to reach by leaning over the rail on the right with a brush, with hopefully without falling over the rail. I showed you last week that I tried sponging flowers, and I hated them. Those very loopy sponge flowers did not make me happy. They were just too flat, and I would have had to go over them with a paintbrush to give them a little more character and a little more personality. And it seemed like it was a multi-step process that using the sponge wasn't going to make anything easier. So I tried painting the other flowers, trying to come up with something that I liked. And when all was said and done, I decided I liked all of them. So to give the flowers more personality and character, I'm going to use the 3 shades. I use a deep rose, a kind of a color called pure pink, and white. And mixing those colors together, I can get different shades and different thicknesses of the paint and a little bit more texture. So you can see on the right, that's what I came up with. Okay, I had 2 horticulturists say to me, why do I need to put leaves on? The flowers come out first, and there aren't any leaves, and then after the flowers fall is when you get leaves. I said, that is not true. This is a picture of a cherry tree in bloom on the left, not artwork. The thing is that when you initially have the flowers on a cherry tree, there are so many flowers that you don't notice the foliage, but and of course you continue to get more foliage. And I think the foliage tends to get darker as it matures and becomes, more important as the flowers fall off. But there are leaves on while the flower's on. So if you look at the picture on the right, that is almost the final product. So I've added the leaves. Again, I used 3 shades to do the flowers, and I used 3 shades to do the foliage, a dark green, a light green, which I accented again with white. I decided these are a little too small. They're fine. 1 cluster of small flowers are fine. But I'm going to be doing the ones that are in this picture are a little bit bigger. Obviously, I haven't added any of the foliage yet. The 2 flowers that are on the right were just the beginning. I kind of threw in the towel at that point. I was getting tired. The light switch is going to be, Tommy promised me today, he's going to swap out the light switch for a brown one. And then I bought a wooden plate cover that I will paint and blend in and actually put a few flowers on to kind of camouflage it. So I'm making progress. So I hope to, have a whole bunch more to show you by next week. This has got to be done by the end of February, because at that point, that is when I have to start seeds. But where's the bell jars? Yes, we have to do the bell jars. I don't want to not do the bell jars. Okay, if you remember, that is the light fixture that I found last week online and dismantled it and used it as a bell jar for my monkey orchid, which is on the right. And I got it for $35. They were very kind. But the thing on the top, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep that, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to dismantle the metal pieces from that. The bell jar part came out very easily. But this is what I did. Look at how it fits perfectly over that clay saucer. Perfectly. And it has the hole in the top for a little ventilation. So you don't have to, you don't have too much humidity and worry about seeds rotting. But if you wanted to keep it completely contained, there's no reason why you couldn't put a cork in it if you wanted it contained. Or if you want to get fancy, I've seen a lot of really interesting wine bottle stoppers that you could just drop down in there. So that would be fun. So this on the right are the seeds that I got from Johnny's, the BHN 589 hybrid determinate tomatoes, that I think they were $6 for that pack of seeds, and you got 15 seeds, which is very expensive seeds. So I filled the saucer with good soil. I put 5 seeds in and poked them down. I labeled them with that little tag, and then covered it. And I'm hoping that that'll keep them moist and we'll get some good germination. My plan is, since they bill themselves as excellent for hoop houses, that once they germinate, I will try. I did 5. I'm not going to need 5. I think maybe I need 3, and I will do 3 5-gallon buckets with drainage, and I'm going to try to grow them in the greenhouse initially, since they supposedly do well in hoop houses. They should do well in the greenhouse, and maybe we will be successful in having tomatoes as early as Memorial Day. So I will definitely keep you posted on how that goes. But I have a very dear friend who works at Habitat for Humanity, the Restore. This one is in Freehold. I also frequent the one in Asbury, but Kathy works at the Restore in Freehold, which is the biggest of them. They're all quality places to go for thrifting and previously used furniture. But I love this store. If I'm having a bad day, I just go. And look what they have. Look at that bell jar on the left. Now, Kathy called me to tell me that she almost called in because last week their light fixtures were on sale for half price. That enormous bell jar, and once again, once you dismantle it, you could put a cork in the top if you want it solid or not, if you want a little air circulation. That is way bigger than the one I got. It's marked $95, but it was all the light fixtures last week were on sale for 50% off. That round one is not a bell jar, but for Mary from Warren, who had one of those pitcher plants that she was struggling with to keep the humidity up, that round one would fit around it perfectly. And that one's marked $30. Now, here's the thing. They have so many different light fixtures that you could use your imagination to come up with, maybe using some of them to help in the garden. They also sometimes get hooks that are, at a very reasonable price, which of course I'm a big hook person. And Kathy says that if you go there, and it's on it's pretty close to downtown Freehold, it's on Route 79. If you go there and say that you heard about the bell jars on Garden with Pegi, that they will extend last week's discount to you. So even though they're not on sale now, if you say you heard it on Garden with Pegi, you will get the discount. You have to ask for Kathy. The other thing is, if you follow Restore on Facebook, they will, you can find out about when they have sales and special deals. Now, this supports Habitat for Humanity, which is a great cause, but this is a great thing for everybody. It's great for Habitat for Humanity that builds homes. It's great for the people who are shopping there. And I just always have a good time. If I'm having, like I said, if I'm having a rough day, I go, I hang out, look for furniture, look for tiles, look for weird tiles. Kathy will sometimes save me special tiles that she comes across. But it's always fun to pick up something for a couple bucks to just lift your spirits. But their selection is fantastic. So if you've never been there, take a ride over. Okay, is that everything? I think we've covered it all. Was that my last slide? Okay. So again, I want to remind everybody to like and subscribe wherever it is that you happen to be watching. Thanks to all the people who called in today. That was fun. And you can always send me slides and images so that we can talk about them. Even if you're watching on an archive, you can send me stuff that we can use at another time. So again, you can watch the previous shows by going to YouTube Garden with Pegi and like and subscribe. And we're having a grand time, and it's almost spring. So I will be here next week, same time, same place. Until then, have a good one.